Lord, I lift your name on high. Lord, I love to sing your praises. I'm so glad you're in my life. I'm so glad you came to save us. You came from heaven to earth to show the way, from the earth to the cross, my debt to pay. From the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky, Lord, I lift your name on high.
Do you remember the song, Would You Live for Jesus? When I think about that song, one of the most striking lines is, Let him have his way with thee. Interesting words. Think about the chorus of the song. It says, His power can make you what you ought to be. His blood can cleanse your heart and make you free. His love can fill your soul, and you will see 'twas best for him to have his way with thee. I love this idea. It talks about Jesus coming and giving us a spiritual makeover. What is your favorite streaming company when you go to your iPhone or your iPad or to your internet TV? Do you have one? Some people watch Netflix, Hulu, Paramount, and we could go on. But as for me, my favorite without question is Discovery. I think they call it Discovery Plus. And I think Lisa would probably concur. You know, she likes the cooking shows like Be My Guest with Ina Garten. I don't know if I said that right or not, but she loves that show, Pioneer Woman. We've gone out to Oklahoma and visited the Mercantile and seen the house where she does her cooking show. And there's just so many that she enjoys, including Magnolia Table from Waco, Texas, with Joanna Gaines. I mean, we could talk about several. As for me, I like the renovation shows. And there's a number of those that I enjoy. I mean, at first I thought it was just Chip and Joanna, but I found out when they quit making their regular programs, they'll have some occasional ones today. They renovated a castle and they renovated a hotel, they renovated a lake house, but they're not on as frequently as before. And so I was hungering for something and I found out there were several that I liked, like Fixer to Fabulous with Dave and Jenny Mars, or there's one in Hawaii, one in Galveston, one in San Antonio, one in Australia down under. There's a lot of the programs that I enjoy. It's a lot of fun. But I think maybe my favorite is called Hometown. That's Ben and Aaron Napier. They come in Mississippi. There's a town called Laurel, Mississippi, and they had an effect on that town. It was kind of sleepy and not very well known, but they have revitalized the town, raised the morale of the community. In fact, they had a spin-off television program called Hometown Takeover. So they go to Wetumpka, Alabama, 7,000 people on the Coosa River, and they take this little community and they start going through public spaces, parks, entrance signs, murals on business walls, restaurants, and various places to do business. And they raised everybody's spirit, raised everyone's morale with the things that they did. And it increased their visibility, and people would go there just to see what had occurred and to stay at the places that they had shown to be renovated where you could stay and eat at the restaurants they renovated to be there and experience the ambiance. It's a lot of fun. They went to Fort Morgan, Colorado. I'm sure there's more in the works. But it really goes back to just fixing up houses. You know, when you flip a house, you can't just throw a little paint on the wall and, some cheap builder grade carpet on the floor and see what you can get out of it. But that's not how Ben and Erin Napier go about their work. They put their hearts into it. And they try to make it special for the person who's going to live there. Now, part of it is the construction. So they have to go in and shore up the foundation. And they're going to get rid of any rot. In our spiritual lives, it makes me think of the book of James. When I read in James chapter 1 and verse 21, therefore put away all filthiness and rampant wickedness, and receive with meekness the implanted word which is able to save your souls. So we don't want to just cover up sin. We don't want to be hypocrites. We want to get rid of sin. But they do that. They go in and they get the foundation right. They get the rot out. And then they go to work. They may vault the ceiling. They may take out a wall to make everything more open and inviting and spacious. And they're going to put in new cabinets and new countertops, and they're going to put in tile. They're going to fix up the bathrooms. They're going to fix up the screened porch. They're not just doing a little to get by. They touch all the spaces, and they make them lovely and welcome and inviting. There comes a certain point when Ben just leaves it with Erin to come in and do her magic as an interior designer or an interior decorator. In the book of Titus chapter 2 and verse 10, it tells us to adorn the doctrine of God. What's that talking about? Take the doctrine of God, the teaching of God, and use it to beautify your life, to embellish, to decorate, to improve it. Well, whenever I watch these shows and I see how they've come in and, they've changed the bed covers and changed the table settings and they've changed the landscaping and the wall art and the photographs. And, it's just striking. It touches your heart. It's moving. And I think that's the way I feel about a person who's been changed by the gospel of Jesus Christ. Saul of Tarsus was one of the most hateful people who ever lived. And what a loving and gracious man he became. Or you think of a woman caught in the act of adultery, going and with confidence that she can rise above her past, goes to sin no more. It's a beautiful picture. And whenever I turn off the television from watching one of those shows, you know what I do? I just start looking around and saying, I wonder what color they'd paint these walls. I wonder what they would get rid of. I wonder what they would add. And my imagination runs wild. Well, that's exactly what needs to happen in our spiritual lives. When we go to the book of Colossians, in Colossians chapter 3, it says in verse 9 and 10 that you have put off the old self with its practices and have put on the new self. You see, Jesus is not just the great physician. He's the great remodeler, the great interior decorator. And so I hope you enjoy your discussions today as we talk about putting things off and putting things on and remaking our lives in the image of Jesus Christ for the glory of God, so that others can see the beauty and that they can desire it and that they'll want to use the gospel of Jesus Christ, the life of Christ, the example of Christ, the teachings of Christ for their own spiritual makeover. Have a great discussion.
You came from heaven to earth to show the way. From the earth to the cross, my debt to pay. From the cross to the grave, from the grave to the sky. Lord, I lift your name on high.